Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Another episode. Uh, this time, a Bitcoin trade episode. So, let's have a look at what's going on here. A little bit better. Okay. Basically, this line is from here to right about here. Um, I guess before I go into chart analysis, let me I guess give you some news update. What's happened? Um, Let me see here. Uh, there's some stuff that happened. I'll probably have to get to a little bit later, but so far the important things is let me see here. Ooh, the California legislation basically shelved that whole bit license thing, whatever it's called in California. So that's happened, and then also it turns out that BitPay got hacked, and a lot of things when people think of hacking, they always think of someone on a computer, right? Typing away and getting into the server or something like that. Well, in this particular case, the BitPay hack was um, a different kind of hack. There's hacking computers, and then there's always hacking of I guess of the mind, you could say. So apparently, it was just done through a hijacked email account, and so that is always susceptible to this type of hacking. Anyone is. Get an email, looks like from a colleague or from someone in your IT department asking you to log in. You log in and says, okay, thanks. And then next thing you know, someone has compromised your information or your password or your login, stuff like that. So there's still, that type of hacking going on, which I think is overlooked. Um, I've never done any of those things. I don't try to do any of these things. I know people out there that try to do it. Um, One of my first phishing scams that I experienced was, excuse me, back in the early 2000s, 99s, somewhere around that time. Uh, I had Verizon for a phone, I think. I don't know where Verizon came from. Um, I always thought they were. Well, I don't know the history of Verizon anyway. Anyways, I get an email from Verizon telling me to log in because they need to check something. And I found that kind of weird. I just had a weird feeling about it, and plus I've been hearing about these phishing scams. So I called Verizon and I asked them if they had any emails coming out asking me for more information. And I called them. They said no, they don't have anything. So I forwarded them the email that was sent to me, and then next thing I know, apparently someone was going out there trying to fish for Verizon customers for some reason. That was my first experience ever, and I realized then, you know, you people are susceptible to this kind of hacking, and doesn't matter what kind of security you have, you can definitely fall victim to this. So if you read about the BitPay hack, how it was done, it was just a simple compromising of someone's email, like a CEO or something, and when you send out an order, um, people do it thinking that it's you, but it's not you. So really, it's not really a hack of a computer. I guess somewhat a hack of a mind, but more of a identity theft, another form of identity theft kind of thing. So that's in the news. Um, Very interesting article. If you read it, you should read it or just look at it. I'm sure they're all on the popular news sites by now. Um, that would also explain why they probably pulled out of the Bit Bowl and everything. Lost a lot of money right there. Another thing is that, oh yeah, the California bill. Um, excuse me. In my opinion, I think that was a result of um, just how silly trying to regulate blockchain and Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency. Um, because if you see my last previous episodes, I talked about how you can embed a Bitcoin into any inanimate object, and not only that, it's not even being used as any financial instrument. It's being used as a recording device or a record keeping device, transfer of ownership, transfer of property. Um, is being kept as records. So um, that's another way you can use Bitcoin in a non-financial way. It is a way to record a transaction versus Bitcoin being a transaction that you're actually selling Bitcoin itself. So you can actually have it as a record of a transaction of a physical property. So I don't know if that had any play or also seeing what happened to New York, all these companies just leaving New York, um, or just after a while they just thought about what Bitcoin can be used for, and it could be pretty much anything you want it to be. It could be used as money, financial instrument, or payment instrument. It could be used as a recording, record keeping, um, you know, transfer of property, transfer of ownership. Um, you could say they're financial in that nature, but at the same time, it's not about money. It has nothing to do with money. It may have to do with value, um, but it can also be just for nothing as well. You can use Bitcoin to uh, let me see here. You can use Bitcoin to record an event in history because supposedly uh, how the blockchain works, it's once it's there, it's there. So it can be a confirmation of what has happened, and not only through one perspective, through many perspectives. So just a lot of things you can do. And I think after a while, people just start to realize maybe this is just nonsense. Trying to really, regulate something that, first of all, it doesn't even exist in this world. And then the second thing is how you can use it is so broad, really broad, that it's hard to differentiate, I guess, between a way of tracking assets, tracking transfers, tracking ownership, or tracking a record of what happened versus tracking money. Hard to differentiate on the blockchain. Some are obvious and some aren't. And so, and a lot of new other things, like the technology is already changing. The wallets are changing, both for hot and cold storage. Even the cold storage, you have I think it might be possible for a cold storage wallet to have a multi-signature kind of event going on while in cold storage. Um, and I guess when it's not in cold, and it can be just synced up to what's happened, or will sync up to what's happened. Anyways, not sure. I'm getting a little bit beyond myself on that part, but it wouldn't be unreasonable, because a lot of the change that I've noticed hasn't been really with any regulation or any Bitcoin, because um, the regulations or any laws that come about won't prevent a user from using Bitcoin, if that makes any sense. Um, so, but I've seen a lot of ways that how the wallets work have changed. Used to be just you had a wallet, you send it and you received it. Um, Now you can actually share a wallet, and having multiple private keys. I think that's always been around, but it's just never been around to a point where it's been easier to use as a user. Still a little difficult, um, but I think as time goes on, it'll become easier. And also, I think I think people will learn how to use these wallets as well. It's not any different than trying to learn how to use a computer for someone who's never used a computer. So eventually they'll just pick it up. It'll just be normal. So I think that's kind of what's going on. That bill has been shelved, and maybe later on they could try to pick it up, but I think they'll just go back to the drawing board and change it again. And by the time it's up for a vote again, I think something else will also start changing to the point where this bill is really irrelevant. So, anyways, those are some of the bigger news that's going on. Um, so, let's go into the chart analysis now. Sorry for that talk, but I think it's necessary to talk about that. Alright, so I drew out the line from this point to this point, and last time I talked to you, I think we were right around here somewhere. So I saw it drop. One of the early indications that it would drop is how many sellers I saw advertised on cash deposits on local Bitcoins. And so I saw it get up to 70, and so I had a feeling that it was going to be dropping. I don't know by how much, but I knew it wouldn't break through. Now it looks like it's still a little early in the morning, but you see the little push up, and on an hourly you'll see a little bit, just a little bit better. But you see it hasn't moved that far from this line. It's gone down, but it's testing this line again, and there may be enough momentum to push it above it. I'll have to watch. I'm looking at the RSI. Problem is that when it goes down, it stays below this 50 area, which means that it doesn't take much. Of course, this is all after the fact, but you'll see that this doesn't take much to. If it goes down just a little, it can actually, in price-wise, go down a lot, because it's in this range of 0 to 50. But it also can push up, and if it hits 70 and goes past beyond this resistance, I think that's a good signal. So you could take your chances. There's areas where you can take these little chances before the event happens, like these little areas, like where they just go straight sideways. So this going sideways, if you were building up your Bitcoins, this push up was really good for you. Whether you sold or not, I don't know. There's another sideways movement here, which if you want to take a chance, if you never sold between these two sideways and you come back down, you're basically a little bit below because of this purchase up higher. But as far as right here, if you made any buys right here, you're breaking even. Um, you can take another chance again and get some more in here at these price levels and see if it breaks through. And if it does break through and up, you're up on these two, even on here in this price range. So um, that's some of the strategies I'm taking. Something that I guess you all can do as well, or implement in the future. I'm just waiting for this to break. I'm already in a position. Of course, you know, I'm in position both sides, so if it just goes down, I just average cost going down, waiting for it to go back up. But I think we're really close. It's recently been pushing much higher as of recent right now. Let me see if I can get that to focus. And this is the price on Bitfinex. Started out this morning at 229, now it's up to 232, which is a good sign. Bitstamp price, Bitsy price, Bitfinex price, and Hobu price. So they're slightly ranging. Not too much of a difference on the Bitsy price, but it seems like Bitsy being the lowest, and Bitstamp, and then Bitfinex, and then Hobu. So a little upward ranging on the different exchanges, but I've seen it move quite a bit. Now, what I did notice is that at some point, Bitstamp and Bitsy were very close at one point. So I'm not sure if that's a bottoming indication. But you know, usually when I see things like one of these other exchanges come close to Bitsy, or Bitsy being the higher of all these exchanges, something's going on, and that's one of the indications that I look out as well. It kind of requires you to kind of watch the market all the time. If you're a trader, you probably do that anyway, or an investor. So I'm waiting for this to move up. I see it doesn't usually mean anything, but sometimes I just try to make a good sense out of it. But another thing I look for is the actual lines themselves, the average lines, and these are weighted. I want to know if they cross over into the resistance. So that's another thing I'm trying to, that kind of helps me predict or anticipate a move in a certain direction. So as I look here, I see this 20 or 25 period average moving slightly upwards, and then it's pushing against this resistant line, and sometimes it doesn't mean anything, but it does help in my position that this is going to be going above this resistance line right here. And so you can see it's quite a momentum too. Like the shorter period, you see that it's below it, and it always seems to never really go above it unless it's breaking through. With the longer period, it's a momentum, so you see the average momentum just pushing through. It didn't quite push through here, almost did a little bit, but slid down. This one, I think, is a little different. I'm sorry, sliding down, and now it's pushing upwards, and it's already almost touching at it. And if it just keeps pushing up, it'll probably just break through. And I think that's one of my early indications that there's a good chance that it could break through, but it doesn't always work out that way. That's one of the things, but it does help me kind of position myself where I can, if it does work out, if it does break through, that's great. If it is a false breakout, position yourself for more buy-ins, or where I like to take all my gains in Bitcoin at this time to make up for, because the value's gone down, so I have to put more money in there by letting my gains in Bitcoin, keep my gains in Bitcoin, basically. So that's the other strategy. So if it goes down, keep more gains in Bitcoin. If it goes up, you've already got supposedly if you're doing this like I'm doing it, you've already got a certain amount of Bitcoins you're adding to it, and when it rises, the more you put into it helps in the increase in value, if that makes sense. So anyways, those are the two strategies I'm taking, and we'll see if it plays out. In either case, if you ever needed to sell your Bitcoins, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. You can just start selling your Bitcoins. You have them. You don't have to buy more to sell anymore. You just sell what you have. Or if you wanted to sell them on the exchange, just to hold them at that dollar amount, you can do that as well. So there's many ways you can protect yourself, hedge yourself. But this is, from what I'm seeing right now, this is on a 12-hour. This is kind of what I'm seeing, and it looks like this average may be pushing the momentum of the price through this resistance. So we'll see what happens. There's a lot of things that are going on still. There's a lot of things that aren't going on as well, and we'll just have to see how it goes. Anyways, hopefully this helps with your trades. I'm not hearing anything that would say anything otherwise, other than just looking at the chart analysis to see where the price is going. So anyway, I'm going to conclude this episode. Feel free to like or dislike, leave a comment, or even do a video response. Until next time, stay tuned. Bye.